that's my family. Wanna go higher, turn up the tempo, increase the BPM. Okay, increase the BPM. Increase the BPM. Increase the BPM. Increase the BPM.
What's up, guys? It's Chris Morgan, FCA, University of Louisville. Welcome to our weekly podcast, In the Huddle, where we ask former and current athletes and coaches into this huddle, into this space to talk about their stories, to talk about what God has done, what he's doing, and what he's continued to do. Super blessed today to have one of my buddies on, Chris Redman, former NFL quarterback, Louisville quarterback, Male High School if you're from Louisville. Right. Man, it's going to be good to catch up with you, Chris.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming on.
Always great to be with you, Chris, and appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Man, I want to go back to the beginning, man. You come from a football and sports family. I know your dad, Coach Redman. He's known around this area as not just a football coach, but just a father figure to many, a guy that loves just pointing and steering young men in the right direction to get their full potential. So you got a chance to call that guy dad.
I did. I was been very blessed to have a guy like that to raise me and, to see not only a coach, but like you said, a father figure. We've had multiple guys, end up living in our house when I was in high school. So I had brothers that, I wasn't even expecting, but it really molded me to kind of who the person I was to realize, how good I had it, which we weren't real wealthy. My dad was a teacher and a coach, but we had everything we needed. And I felt like the luckiest guy in the world. And to be on the sidelines with him when I was a little kid and playing in the end zones and learning football, I didn't realize how much that would help me down the road. And not even so much the X's and O's as was just the type of leader and the type of person that how you're supposed to treat people. Very blessed to have a guy like that to show me the ways.
Yeah. So obviously we know football was the sport that you loved, but did you like to play other sports? Did you like to do other things?
I did, yeah. Growing up, probably baseball was my best sport when I was growing up, until they started throwing curveballs. But basketball was probably one of my most passionate. I love basketball and ended up getting into playing some golf. So competing, honestly, it doesn't really matter if it's ping pong with Chris Burke or whoever. Like I love to compete and still do. And so it's just something that, but football, just kind of gravitated towards, I kind of grew my junior, well, actually in my high school, I kind of got taller and had some great people around me and we toured up. And so football ended up being the sport, but I love all sports. I really do.
Yeah, I loved. I'm just a little older than you, so I remember just catching some of those games at Male and how you all just put it. But y'all had a squad coming up through Male. I looked at some of the stats, like you threw 57 touchdowns in a season, and then in that same year you threw twice 8 touchdowns in a half. And I looked above the record. It said that there were 9 that was for the whole game. So your junior year, probably you'd only played half a game, maybe.
Yeah, I think I figured out it was like 6 full games that I really missed out because we were so we were a pretty good team and we ended up not playing the second half and throwing 8 touchdowns. But one of them was against Atherton wasn't that good at that point, but the other one was against Ballard and they were number 16 in the state and. My dad would never the record for the game was 10. And so, I was like, Dad, I kind of want to get in there and throw a couple more, whatever. And he was like, no, we're good. Yeah. He's like, I kind of learned at that point that it's not about numbers. It's not about, records. It's more about, treating the game the way it needs to be treated. We could have definitely got a lot more stats. And I know you see a lot of high school teams, they'll catch the ball on a kickoff and kneel it just to get more stats. And I'm like, it could have done that, but that's just, to me, that's not the way the game's supposed to be played. And I'm glad I learned it the right way. And very blessed to get the National Player of the Year my senior year in high school. And, nowadays that's worth a lot of money with the NIL stuff. So it's kind of a crazy world we live in now, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I really learned a lot at those days. And I think it really impacted the person I became. Yeah,
you mentioned the NIL now, that obviously the landscape of recruiting, that those things and the videos and social media and all that stuff didn't happen when we were in high school. So what did it look like? What did recruiting look like for you? I mean, obviously National Player of the Year, you could have probably went anywhere that you wanted. What was some of those visits that you took? What were some places that you kind of thought about?
Yeah, I remember passing up multiple teams that won national championships during my time, and I didn't want to follow Peyton Manning because I didn't want to. And sure enough, T. Martin goes in there and they win a national championship, and so I had an opportunity to go down there. Took a visit to University of Miami. Not really my culture. Didn't like that. They're very surprised at Michigan when I turned them down, and ultimately got a scholarship offer before Brady and them. So you just never like the world. You just never know how the world changes because of your decisions. But I was really happy. I actually signed at the University of Illinois when Schnellenberger left. I wanted to play for Schnellenberger. I signed with the University of Illinois, and then I was going to follow him out to Oklahoma, but just a home guy. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to stay home. And they fired the coach at the offensive coordinator. The reason I went to Illinois, so I got out of that letter of intent. The second guy in NCAA history to do that.
Yeah.
The other guy was Allen Houston when he went to Tennessee. And so that was kind of a unique story. Ended up staying home because I just wanted to stay here, and it all worked out. I mean, it definitely did. We had the first couple of years was rough, and I had a really bad team my sophomore year. Again, though, that just built me. Like I think my life has evolved from the hardships, not so much the national championships. I don't, being a part of a Super Bowl team is great and all, but I was built because we lost, and I was a 1-10 team, but we came back and got into a bowl that next year, and with the top offense in the country, my junior and senior year. To me, that's what I'm most proud of, is going through those times. And that nowadays with the transfer portal, they're gone. I'm like, it's tough times, I'm out. And that's the part that I hope, there's not a great story out there that's being missed, because it's just easier to go to another school and maybe another place, and instead of fighting through tough times.
Yeah, well, I know I speak for a city when I'm glad that you stayed. I'm glad that you stayed and you didn't bounce or leave when times got tough. I mean, we had a guy in here not too long ago, Deion Branch, that he definitely sang your praises as a person, as an individual. He talked highly of your dad. So it's good to grow some roots here, and I'm glad that you stayed here. And it wasn't just you just came here and just been part. You had a great career. I mean, I think it was third all-time passing yards in NCAA history. I mean, you're up there with Ty Detmer. Those are some incredible numbers.
Yeah.
Drafted in third round, Baltimore. So now you're going from high school great, college great, and now you're third round. And you mentioned Brady earlier. I'm sure you get told all the time you got drafted above Tom Brady, didn't you?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But
that is,
the older I get, the more I learn that at that point, those teams, you kind of go to a place and then you have to evolve the way they want you to play. Like I came from a shotgun offense in high school and college to go to an offense in the NFL where we would sometimes be 3rd and 10. I'm under center taking a 7-step drop, which I wasn't fast anyway. To take 7 steps, try to read a defense and get the ball off against some of these incredible players like Julius Peppers and some of these guys. That was hard, that was different. And it's a little bit of luck, kind of getting in the right situation. Obviously, I was a part of one of the best defenses ever with Ray Lewis, and winning a Super Bowl in 2000, my rookie year, was amazing. And I would never trade that for anything. But at the same time, I'm like, if I could have went to an offense that maybe they, at that point, the shotgun wasn't as big as it is now. Now, like first down, typically you see these quarterbacks in the gun. And I look at that, I'm like, man, that's just like what would have been perfect for me. But I got a little bit that when I went to Atlanta, and that was probably when I had the best part of my career was at that point. But Baltimore was great. Winning the Johnny Unitas Award in college was great because Johnny Unitas lived in Baltimore, and he helped me find a place to live. And so it was great getting to know him. I actually had dinner with him on Thanksgiving. He invited me over right before he passed away. And so I had had Thanksgiving dinner with Johnny Unitas right before he passed away. So that's a memory that I'll never forget. So a great, your life never works out exactly how you kind of envisioned it. I wanted to throw for 50,000 yards, and that was my goal in the NFL. And I ended up playing until I was 35. I played a long time, but I didn't get the goal that I wanted, and that's okay. I made the best out of my opportunities, and I think that's what everybody has to kind of find a role, whatever that is, whether it's a a solid backup, or you get your you just got to figure out what that role is and make the best out of it. And I think that's a good thing that I even tell some of the high school players that I'm coaching now at Christian Academy is like, man, find a good role. My son's got to do it right now anyways. He's finding a different role this year than we didn't expect to have. So it's that's just part of life.
Yeah, when athletes, and we've talked about it before, but we have spent our whole life playing a sport, and when you reach a certain age or a certain platform when you no longer play anymore, there's it seems like an identity crisis that you have to kind of wrestle within yourself. I know you're a believer in Christ. How did that come into play where you had that wrestling with your identity?
Like you, a guy came to me named Steve Wigginton in high school and said, "Hey, I want you to be a part of FCA." And that's how I really kind of got in the Word and learned and understand. I was baptized my 7th grade year, which ironically was the same year that I became a quarterback in the 7th grade. And but I didn't realize at the time until I really kind of dove in high school and met Steve, and we didn't have the FCA that's at University of Louisville is now. And so when I kind of got to college, I didn't have that same type of brotherhood like I had in high school, probably, which I missed out a little bit. We had, chapel service and stuff like that, but it was never like it is now, I guess. But to not have that is what I'm just so thankful and encourage people to, like, I don't want to scare you, but like, man, it's just so much easier going through tough times when you have somebody that's a higher cause, and if you have that faith. I think we always talk about it takes more faith to not be a Christian than it does to be a Christian, because I don't know what I've done. I think my whole life kind of evolved, worked up to this past year where I almost thought I was going to lose my son to cancer, but not having that faith got me through that tough time. And I encourage everyone, whether it's a tough game or a loss of a family member or going through a really tough time, if you don't have that foundation and have that platform to look to and have faith, and Jesus Christ has been that for me. So I really feel that that's been a blessing for me. And I really do feel my whole career leading up to this point was showing me how to be a leader through a tough time. And I think we did that. We got through it. We beat cancer. And I really think that was a big part of what I was here to do.
Yeah. I definitely want to talk about your son's battle with that here shortly. Athletes thrive off of the locker room, teammates. I was always blessed because I always had built-in friends. If it was football, if it was basketball, it was baseball, I always had a group and a crew with me. Spiritually speaking, it's always good to have people like ourselves, like other people that we can go to when times get tough. Who's some of those guys, in the National Football League or even in college or even now, that you look to God just really intervened and he placed me with certain people at just the right time.
Yeah, I had a guy in Baltimore. He was our chaplain. He played with me and became a chaplain. So I kind of saw both sides, and his name is James Trapp, and he's I think he's at University of Clemson now. That's where he went to college, and he's a chaplain there. And he had kind of two personalities, like where he could turn on and be the meanest guy on the field, but then as soon as that's over, I mean, he could flip the switch and one of the most gracious and best people. And I really saw, when you're working football field you have to go everything you have, but you can still be a Christian and go through that whole situation and make the right decisions. And not to say I made all the right decisions, I definitely didn't, but guys like that to keep you accountable, to keep the right people around you, I think is very important. It makes a big difference. It made a big difference in my life that I was around guys like that. And I've had a lot of different guys over the years. Brandon Stokely is another guy that comes to mind, and he was in my wedding, and just another guy that would just keep me accountable. Like, hey man, let's instead of going out, let's go home. It's okay to have it. We'd have like a poker night or just stay at home. And so to me, it was good to have people say, hey, you don't have to go live that life. You can be just kind of normal and still make it on an athletic field.
Yeah, that's good. To be a professional athlete, you had top 1%, if that, You have to be a special person to do that. You also have to be a special person to be married to someone like that. You know, I love how you and Ashley do this together. Tell us just how long you've been married. Tell us a little bit about Ashley.
Yeah, so Ashley was a cheerleader at Male High School with me, and it's funny is we were at a little pep rally, and I was like, well, I'm gonna marry that one right there. And so she caught my eye really quick, and so she's been through everything, good times, bad times, and like just so consistent, just a good person, like, you know, and obviously a great mother to our kids. But she just, you know, we've kind of went through a lot of different experiences together, and I'm really glad that, you know, we kind of come from a, you know, somewhat similar background, being from Louisville, and got to experience all these really cool opportunities and places together, and be able to share that with a good person. And it's so cool. She's really grown with her faith over the year. And I just see her, I mean, it seems like every year she's just getting stronger and stronger as a Christian. To me, that makes me really proud to see, you know, how much that means to her. And she's not the same person if some reason we can't make it to church that Sunday. She's not. She needs that. And like and so to be with a person like that is very special to me, and I'm glad I got her.
Yeah, you definitely outkicked your coverage.
No doubt.
No doubt.
No doubt.
Well, you know, I've said many times that athletics has taught me. I don't want to undermine higher education, but a lot of the things I've learned from life, I've learned from athletics, whether that's commitment, honor, integrity, fighting through. That you know very well that you have to call and execute a play, and you got 45 seconds. You can't really dwell on the last play. You got to focus on the next one. So we carry that over into our lives, and we don't even really know it. What's the good thing of this is adversity, when it hits, we're going to tackle it. We're going to hit it. But the negative thing is a lot of joys. We don't really celebrate a lot of joys sometimes, because then we move on quickly. Talk to us about adversity. How has dealing with the sports world, as far as adversity, you talked about it earlier. Now how does that help you deal with adversity?
Yeah, I think football is a great precursor to life. It really is. You know, to be able to go out there with people from different backgrounds and different families. Some have, you know, all different types of people. But to put it on the field and all 11 guys have to be on the same page to be successful in that field is a very hard thing. There's a lot of moving parts that go on and that's involved with it. But I love that, and I love having a brotherhood like that, because it definitely, when you get to the next chapter in your life, you're gonna have to kind of deal with the same thing. There are a lot of different people, and I always tell my son, man, it takes a lot of different people to make the world go round, and it really does. And so you have to. And some of my people are like, no way, I'm gonna have a good relationship with this guy. And we actually just talked about this in church this weekend. But you know, you just never, if you can figure out a way to try to understand people rather than just maybe judge them from your first outlook. And I've seen so many people like, no way, they end up being my best friend, being the best coach I've ever had. And just to try to, just go out and understand, yeah, they might be a little different than you, but to try to understand that person. To me, I've just created so many relationships that I would have never thought I would have had. And if I would have kind of took my, you know, first opinion of that person, and I would have never had that relationship. And so I just encourage people to sometimes, you know, judging people by the cover of the book is not the way to do it. And I just encourage people to there's a reason why a lot of things. Like I said, we just talked about that in church this week, and but it's definitely true. But yeah, some of the hardest times, man, you find out who you are. You know, like adversity makes you look yourself in the mirror. Like, how are you going to handle a tough time? And you know, some of my best. My dad always talked. We were down 21 against Fern Creek in high school, and we came back. We didn't even win. I think we ended up losing in overtime or something. But the fact that we came back and we made it, you know, like, to me, that was always like, man, I'm never going to give up. I don't care what it is. And, you know, again, like I said, going through some tough times here recently with my son, that kind of adversity, that, you know, that I just take that and run with it, you know, and that's part of life is you never give up, find the positive in something. And I think that's the way I've kind of gotten through life.
Yeah. Well, you got to be really selfless to get married. You got to be even more selfless to have kids. You've been blessed with 2 kids, a son and a daughter, and you mentioned just the obstacle. There's nothing like a kid when your kid hurts. I've been there. That when your kid hurts is a different kind. It's okay for us to hurt, but when our children hurt, tell us a little bit about what we've talked about just with.
Yeah. Last November 16th, my son, we're third round of the playoffs, about to play Central, huge game, and we're sitting there running 150-yard sprints, and my son's been, he's kind of been complaining about his stomach's hurting and his back was hurting, and we've had a lot of different things. I gave him a lot of ibuprofen that year because he had shin splints, and so I thought he might have had some type of ulcer or like potentially the worst case pancreatitis. And so we're like, my neighbor pretty much convinced him. I'm like, hey, let's suck it up and get through the championship here. Well, it turns out we were in the beginning of the third stage. There's only 3 stages in testicular cancer. He gets diagnosed with testicular cancer. We're on the operating table that next morning, and you talk about changing your life in a second. And so we go from thinking about winning a state championship to thinking about, hey, he has a massive football-sized tumor in his stomach that, my first scenario is like, this ain't good. We got to figure this out. And it was tough at first. The news was tough and it was really hard, but we immediately got into the positive mode. Like, hey, how are we going to beat it? It was just, it's day to day at that point. It's like, hey, task at hand, what do I got to do? And, I tell people it was like a Marine or a SEAL team sniper. It was the next task. And I was just so proud of the way he handled every situation. And it's like, he never said, why me one time. And he had an 8-hour surgery on January 2nd. And, so those are some tough things, and he was just kind of like, hey, what's next? What we got to do next? And we had, 4 rounds of chemotherapy, lost all of his hair. And, and those are times that they don't teach you in school before you. They don't teach you how, as a dad, how to handle. But I got it from football. I got it from picking myself up off the ground after I got sacked a million times and going to the next play and like making that pass. So those are the type of things that you can learn from sports. You don't even realize you're learning them at the time. And I just carried it on to one of the hardest times of my life. And so we got through it, and I'm really proud of the way he handled that. So it's going to be one of the best the worst experience, but it's going to end up being one of the best experiences that I think that we're going to go through as a family, because we're starting a foundation now. We're doing some really cool things. And so we're going to help a lot of people from this horrible event. And I'd encourage everybody to take a bad season or a bad opportunity to make the best out of it and flip that around. And you can do it like that. And so that's kind of what I learned from my father and my parents and football.
Yeah, there's so much in that. I'm proud of your son for how he's done it. He's been an example to so many of us that have watched him, how he's dealt through this.
Yeah.
And so, as a dad, you're used to our children looking and taking lessons from us, but those are great things when we can look at our kids, and our kids can teach us lessons as well. Well, catch us up. What are you doing now? You mentioned the foundation. You mentioned just what are you doing now?
Yeah, so I'm involved with a local beverage company, and we're doing some drinks with ketones. So I'm involved with that, and then I'm also involved with a wound care company, and so kind of doing some medical sales in the meantime. And I kind of have a lot of different things that I have a passion about doing, and I love people, and I love business, and so got some real estate things that I'm excited about as well. And so yeah, I mean it's a fun time. It's tough because we're going through great things, but it's a fun time with our kids. My daughter, she's going to be a freshman in high school, so I got my daughter and my son in high school at the same time, and she's playing a lot of sports now as well. She's going to play field hockey and lacrosse. So there's a lot of things to be thankful for, and I'm very thankful for it. So I'm staying busy, and doing the coaching thing at Christian Academy is it's been a lot of fun too. And we got a chance to do something that not many people in the state of Kentucky's done, is have a three-peat, winning 3 state championships in a row. And so that's something that leaves some cool history around. So it's been fun. It's been obviously it's been a roller coaster ride, but just really enjoying every second of it.
Yeah. Get some rapid fire questions, man. Then we'll call it a day, man. Most talented guy you've ever played against?
Probably in practice with Ray Lewis. I mean, he was one of the best guys that I ever played against. On defense, Derek Brooks and, Rondé Barber and some great Jason Sehorn. Played against some great players in the past, but it was really fun to watch a guy like Ray Lewis prepare. I had to go up against him. I was on the scout team, whatever, when I was in Baltimore, and so every day I'm going against him, thinking I could get a screen off or whatever. He was so good in his preparation. He prepared like a quarterback on the defense, and not many guys are willing to sacrifice as much time as he did. So to be a part of, all the guys on defense like Ed Reed, and you can name all these guys that are Hall of Famers, and Rod Woodson, and some of these guys that I got a chance to play with was a lot of fun.
What about you said defense? What about the most talented guy you got to play with? Like
Julio Jones probably had the most talent-wise. Shannon Sharp was a great player, great leader. I got to play with some really good quarterbacks that I learned from. Randall Cunningham was really cool. I played his last year when he came to Baltimore and got to learn. What a great guy, what a great story he had, and he changed his life all around from Christ as well. So just some really cool people, some relationships that I'll never. Todd Heap he's one of my best friends and tight end, and Matt Ryan's an incredible player. What a outstanding quarterback, and he's easily could be a Hall of Famer. So I've been very blessed to play with some, and everyone's different. Everyone's they bring their own formula to the table, and that's what was so cool is the backgrounds. But at the end of the day, it was the ultimate, that goal of winning a championship together was a great experience, and being around some incredible athletes.
That's good. Two more. Best golf course you've ever played?
Augusta Country Club. Yeah, played there 4 times. So maybe
Awesome.
the best perk of being a Falcon. So
that is fantastic.
Yeah.
What's your golf score? What are you shooting nowadays?
Man, I haven't played. This year's been crazy. I'm usually a golf fanatic. I have a golf green in my backyard, but this year I've only played a handful of times just because of all the stuff that went on. So, but I'm usually around a 5 or a 6, probably.
Well, you're on the record now on this, okay? So I got to ask this: better golfer, you or Chris Burke?
Oh, it's not even close. I love Chris Burke. He's a great guy. He's a good person. But no, Chris is good. We were very competitive. But when he gets those, he get that baseball swing, gets those hooks going, and I feel pretty good about my game. But his short game is legit. He's a good player.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you taking the time to be in this huddle. And, man, just all you do for our city, and praying for your son.
Thank you.
And then thanks for the example that you set for so many people, man. So I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Chris. Absolutely. Happy to do it. All right, buddy. Thank you.